which made it all the better. Alice had leaned forward to see who'd mentioned the wine, a nondescript man in a business suit. After a few glasses of the featured selections, she'd grown braver and, juggling a plate of finger food, had made her way across the room and asked him about his interest in the wine. He'd explained about a trip he'd taken to Spain a few years ago with an ex-girlfriend, how he'd come to enjoy the wine. They'd sat at a table and talked for some time. Arthur, it seemed, liked the same food she did, the same sports. They both jogged and spent an hour each morning in overpriced health clubs. "But," he said, "I wear the cheapest JCPenney shorts and T-shirts I can find. No designer garbage for me." Then he'd blushed, realizing he'd possibly insulted her. But she'd laughed. She took the same approach to workout clothes, in her case bought at Target when visiting her family in Jersey. She'd quashed the urge to tell him this, though, worried about coming on too strong. They'd played that popular urban dating game, What We Have in Common. They'd rated restaurants, compared Curb Your Enthusiasm episodes, and complained about their shrinks. A date ensued, then another. Art was funny and courteous, a little stiff, shy at times, reclusive, which she put down to what he described as the breakup from hell, a long-term girlfriend in the fashion business. And his grueling work schedule, he was a Manhattan businessman. He had little free time. Would anything come of it? He wasn't a boyfriend yet, but there were far worse people to spend time with. And when they'd kissed on their most recent date, she'd felt the low ping that meant, oh yeah, chemistry. Tonight might or might not reveal exactly how much. She'd noticed that Arthur had furtively, he thought, been checking out the tight pink little number she'd bought at Bergdorf's especially for their date. And Alice had made some preparations in the bedroom in case kissing turned into something else. Then the faint uneasiness, the concern about the spider, returned. What was bothering her? Alice supposed it was nothing more than a residue of unpleasantness she'd experienced when a delivery man had dropped off a package earlier. Shaved head and bushy eyebrows, smelling of cigarette smoke and speaking in a thick Eastern European accent. As she'd signed the papers, he'd looked her over, clearly flirting, and then asked for a glass of water. She brought it to him reluctantly, and found him in the middle of her living room, staring at her sound system. She'd told him she was expecting company, and he'd left, frowning as if angry over a snub. Alice had watched out the window and noted that nearly 10 minutes had passed before he got into the double-parked van and left. What had he been doing in the apartment building all that time? Checking out. "Hey, Earth to Alice." "Sorry," she laughed, continued to the couch, then sat next to Arthur, their knees brushing. Thoughts of the delivery man vanished. They touched glasses. These two people who were compatible in all important areas. Politics, they contributed virtually the same amount to the Dems and gave money during NPR pledge drives. Movies, food, traveling. They were both lapsed Protestants. When their knees touched again, his rubbed seductively. Then Arthur smiled and asked, "Oh, that painting you bought, the Prescott? Did you get it?" Her eyes shone as she nodded. "Yep, I now own a Harvey Prescott." Alice Sanderson was not a wealthy woman by Manhattan standards, but she'd invested well and indulged her true passion. She'd followed the career of Prescott, a painter from Oregon, who specialized in photorealistic works of families, not existing people, but ones he himself made up. Some traditional, some not so. Single-parent, mixed race, or gay. Virtually none of his paintings were on the market in her price range, but she was on the mailing lists of the galleries that occasionally sold his work. Last month, she'd learned from one out west that a small early canvas might be coming available for $150,000. Sure enough, the owner decided to sell, and she dipped into her investment account to come up with the cash. That was the delivery she'd received today. But the pleasure of owning the piece now diminished again with a flare-up of concern about the driver. She recalled his smell, his lascivious